Once again, this episode is being brought to you by Diesel Fuel Prints. Diesel Fuel has been in the business since 1991, and Andy has been printing all of my stickers since the early 2000s. He's been a guest on this show, and he's a friend and somebody I've worked with for a long time. So I can highly vouch for his business because I use it myself. Highest quality, weatherproof stickers, easy online ordering, and quotes on any size and shape sticker you can think of. Full color printing and 125 black and white stickers start as low as $25. Free shipping on all orders at dieselfuelprints.com. And my listeners get a 10% discount if they use the promo code AWP 2021. Check out Andy and his stickers. He does a great job. Let's get to the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is world famous Richie Goodtimes. A lot of graphic designers in the rock poster world will be very familiar with Richie Goodtimes. It was good to catch up with Richie. We're like brothers, and it's been like 20 years that we've been friends. And, you know, up and down roller coaster of our lives have kept us working together on again, off again. But we're back to doing stuff together again right now, and it's really cool to be back in touch with Richie and to be, killing it with design work again. And we talk a little bit about that, where his new job is at, project that we worked on together recently, and, the hope for a lot more projects. Should the world keep getting concerts in the face of the never ending coronavirus pandemic. So great episode. A lot of people are familiar with Richie, either from the music scene or from the design world. It was great to have him on. Cool talk. I think everybody will really dig it. As always, you can find the links to his stuff in the description below, as well as my Patreon. I appreciate all the patrons that I have now that help support the show. And my merch below. You can buy t-shirts and stuff like that from me down below. And yeah, let's get to this episode with Richie Goodtimes.
Is it happening to you yet where you're fighting with technology? Like old man fights with technology? Because it's happening to me.
Here's what I would say about that. No. There was a little bit of that when I was trying to learn how to do this podcast, because I had to learn a lot of shit. So there was a little bit of that, but there were things that I could be doing, like Discord and these other, and like Twitch and these other places that you could be.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, to avoid old man fighting with technology, I'm just not doing it.
Dude,
I know which dragons to try to fucking slay.
I have old man fighting with technology at work once in a while, and it's like, God, I'm like, when did this happen? Like, I used to be the guy, like I used to know the answers, and now I'm like, I don't know. Well, like, we got a new inkjet printer, or all we want to do is like hook it up, network it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just plug it in, and I'm like, it doesn't work. I don't know what I'm doing.
Dude, totally. That is totally fucking before I started using Zoom for this, because at first when the pandemic hit, Zoom it didn't have the ability to record the audio and the video separate from each other, just shit out one big file. So
Okay.
if my guest's audio was shitty, I had no way to repair it because my audio was in that file too.
Okay.
And so I had to use Skype, and then I had to find this one particular app that would record Skype into 3 different pieces. But then the format wasn't exactly right for Adobe Premiere. So then I had to run it through this fucking converter. And like, I had to figure all this shit out. And I was like, I was like miserable for like 2 weeks. And it's funny because Christy had never seen me battle
the
with my
technology
work stuff before.
Yeah.
And like, I swear constantly when I'm trying to figure stuff out. That's like how I get through it, vent. And she's like, man, you are like super angry. And I was like, I'm not really that angry. If I don't swear like this, I will become very angry. So just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, like, ask me any question about like screen printing, Photoshop, Illustrator, no problem. But like anything else that like I work on a PC now. Like it's been for like a couple of years. Like, but I still, if anything goes wrong with this thing, I'm screwed. I'm one of those guys now. I'm like, oh, my computer's got fucking viruses. Got to get a new one because that's who I am.
So you're on a PC right now? Because
Yeah.
that's shocking.
For the last couple of years, really. I mean, I was working on the last Mac I had was like a 2008 iMac, and I made it work, and I got my stuff done. But then all the programs kept going and going and going, and I'm using CS5, and I could work. I could work in CS. I could work in Photoshop 3 and do what I have to do, like legit Photoshop 3. But you know, and then CS5, and then like stuff's happening, and my stuff's becoming not compatible with stuff, and it's becoming a headache. And I'm pricing Macs, and I'm looking at it, and then I bought this laptop, which is a gaming laptop, and Sharon, at the time we were married, she was mad. She's like, "You bought a gaming computer?" I'm like, "No, I bought a computer that's branded as gaming, but it has all of the stuff inside it that I want. And it's all the same stuff that would be in the design of the computer, except the design computer was $1,500 and this one was $700. So I got that.
Right. Yeah, I got one of those gaming computers too for the same reason. And I didn't know, I hadn't started doing the podcast yet. And then it turned out that thing had like extra processors that like render video like 4 times.
Yeah, the video cards. Laptop. Yeah, that's what I wanted for Photoshop.
Yes. So I ended up working out, but yeah, dude, like I find myself watching YouTube like all the time now. Like there's a bunch of shows on there I like, and there's a bunch of like there's a couple like Photoshop guys. There's this dude who can make Photoshop do things that
is it Texture Labs?
Yes. Texture Labs. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
I'm learning. I'm using that stuff right now. Like I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that's what that did. Like all these features that have been there forever. Like that's what it does. I'm using it
and like how he's like, yeah, and if you just keep stacking it, and then you do, it's like,
put it in folders.
He figured out how to make it do things. I wonder if the people at Photoshop at Adobe know that it can do the things that it is. It's crazy. The stuff
I think they do.
I
think they built it.
But you know that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody.
No, but I mean, I think they like the theory behind it that is understood. The combinations that he's using are like mind blowing, and then sometimes so simple. You're just like, oh my God.
Right.
And I've been really making a big effort in my own work to remain non-destructive as possible, because especially with the amount of edits that we're asked to do sometimes on like stupid shit, and you're just like all right, and then back in the old days you'd be like, oh my God, I have to edit that. Like I can't edit that. That's done.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the smart object is like a huge thing, and it's like I'm starting to. That is my current old man fighting technology battle. Is that it's like I need to slow down and take the time to learn how to do it, but at the same time I'm like, I just want to get this done, and so I don't. And I need to take a week and like do every single one of those Texture Lab projects and then just like put it in the bank and have it there and just take a week and do it. You know what I mean?
Well, some of them you only have to do once, because once you've done it, if you save that file, you have all of those things. And then where the actual art is nested in the middle, you could change that in and out like anything. So you only have to do it once, and then you have all these like tools like at your disposal, which I'm pretty sure is what he has. And I'm pretty sure those can actually be saved. I think it's called a PSDT is the type of file.
Huh.
And then it's like a Photoshop template file, and then the nested piece of art can just be edited as its own smart file. You're like, yeah, it's crazy.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I was like, me and Connie were working on something, and I was like, oh, you got to check out this Texture Labs, dude, like all this stuff. She's like, I still don't use Photoshop, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And she's like, I still don't really. She's like, I don't know how to do anything in Photoshop. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe it. That's like, it's like the ultimate Connie comment.
I do that. I'm doing something for Connie right now. And here's my morning. Here's like I'm working from home today, which is awesome. Here's what I did this morning. This morning I separated a piece of Alan Forbes art, a piece of Jim Madison art, like a bunch of my own just design work, and then like in a little bit I'm going to start on some stuff for Connie. Like that's my day. Like I don't like 6 months ago I was ready to blow my head off, and like I'm like I don't want to look at another car. I hate cars. I hate my life. I hate everything. And and everything's like awesome.
Yeah. That you being a mechanic just didn't make any sense to the entire universe.
No, I mean,
it didn't make any sense at all.
I'm not bad at it, which is something like I had a problem with my own car like 2 weeks ago, and I fixed it. Like straight up fixed it. Not like I think this is a problem, and dick around. Like it's fixed. So.
Yeah,
that's something I couldn't have done 10 years ago.
I was pretty good at video game art, and I shouldn't have been doing that either. So just being good at something doesn't mean that's what you're supposed to do.
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like I was working in bad t-shirt shops. Like it's the same thing. You're just like, what am I doing? Like, why? You don't want what I do. You just want me to like separate your garbage, which I can do. And you don't even want me to do that right. You just want me to give you shit. It's like shit on top of shit on top of shit. It's just like, all right, you're paying me. I'll keep doing it. But yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, there's with being a designer, artist, illustrator, like a freelance person, there's a lot of jobs that are that, well, you're paying me. So I need a check this week. So let's just, I mean, I guess we can just be doing the episode at this point.
Well, maybe we are. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
There's, like sometimes like, I always like to do like this little warm up period and then, just to get the flow of the conversation. And sometimes it just ends up, there's good stuff in there. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll just be recording now and I'll just add my intro later.
Hold on. I got a work text.
Yeah, of course.
Nope, not for me. I'm good.
So, you're working at Highline Merch now. That's your
Highline Merchandising.
Yeah,
in Shoemakersville, Pennsylvania.
I saw that's like literal middle of nowhere.
Yes, the Schuylkill River runs through the property that we work on. The Schuylkill River is also in Philadelphia. You could take a boat from Philadelphia to where I go, but it would take you probably a day. Like it is, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's so in the middle of nowhere that the gas station that I get gas at when I'm leaving there, sometimes there are people who feel just fine walking around with their shirts off with giant swastika tattoos on their chests. like they're like, nobody coming out here, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, small town USA, gotta love it. And that company's was founded by John Warner, who people who are listening who are aware of gigposters.com will remember John Warner, and he's gone on to create this crazy successful merchandising company that's
nuts.
Pretty rad. It's pretty rad. And actually, me and Richie just worked on a project together for Highline merch that was actually really fun to do. We haven't worked on anything together in a long time, so it was
probably 15 years. More than that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, because I haven't really done any poster work except for the rare one or two things here and there. So yeah, it's got to be at least over a decade for sure.
by the time you put this on the internet, we could probably actually show that to people. So,
oh yeah, that's got to be coming up pretty soon because that festival's coming up. Or is it going to get canceled like every fucking thing?
they say it's not going to. They're not canceling. The only way they're canceling is if the state cancels them.
Right. Because I saw that New Orleans Jazz Fest, like they released their lineup and then like a week later canceled the whole festival.
Yeah, like I don't know, man.
It's weird.
Honestly, I don't think it's a good idea.
I mean, we're going to Psycho Vegas in a week, so
I don't think that's a good idea either, man. Like I stopped going to stores that I have to get out of the car,
Yeah, I mean, I'm vaccinated and we're going to wear masks. So
so am I. But
I'm not worried about it on that level, but
we just had a scare with the boy because he's 8. He's not vaccinated, and we thought this week we thought he had it. And we're like, oh my god, what do we do now?
Yeah, you guys have kids, and that's a whole different level of risk. Like I don't have to worry about infecting any children. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, that's all.
That's a real thing, and I understand that for sure.
Dude, I go outside. I'm vaccinated. I'll go outside and hug every person on the street right now. Like hey, come here. Like just maybe I have it, and you chose not to get vaccinated. We can get you out of here. I'm fine with that. Come here.
Yeah.
Your choice. Your body, weird. Your choice.
So you're not in Philly now. You're just outside of, because you've been in Philly for like a decade, yeah.
2014, the end of 2014.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I was thinking this morning when I was getting ready to when I was setting everything up to record it's like we've been friends for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
That's
like 2001, at least 20 years.
You were like in your 20s when we met.
I think you were in your 20s.
No, I was like
I think you were barely 30.
I was like
barely 30.
Because we were like, when was that first flatstock? It was 2002?
2002, I was 27. All right, so what are you, like 6 years older than me?
I was 32, so yeah. Crazy. It's crazy. We've been friends for a long time. We've done a lot of stuff.
Your kids are older than me. Your kids are older than I was.
My kids are older than you were for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peachy's the same age as you were. Yeah, it's crazy. Those kids, they're all grown up, owning houses and getting married and having kids and stuff. Well, no, none of them have kids yet, but that shit's coming soon.
Probably that'll happen.
Yeah, Jordan's wife is like starting to like talk about it. So
get out. Tell him get out now. Run, because
no, she started bringing it up, and so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy a classic car then, because once I have kids, I know I'll never get one. So he went out and bought like this super sick 62 Buick, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get that shit now because I know how this is gonna go once there's kids. There ain't no money for that.
There's nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, trust me, I had 3 of them. I know how it was. You remember, you were there.
Oh yeah.
I was rad when you and Murph and Carla and everybody would come down and like stay at our house, and we'd just like party for a couple days and like go see shows and stuff, and that was good times, man.
All right, so what is this podcast about? Flat Earth? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Flat Earth podcast.
Flat Earth and not just Flat Earth and Hollow Moon.
Hollow Moon. I don't subscribe to either of those. I am more along the lines of the infinite plane theory, whereas whichever direction you go, a new reality presents itself. Wherever, it's a.
I like that one actually.
Yeah, that's mine. That's mine. Infinite plane theory.
It butts almost right up next to the multiverse theory.
It is similar to the multiverse,
except for instead of being vertical, it's horizontal.
It's horizontal, yes. And the multiverse theory assumes that there are other beings in the universe, whereas the infinite plane theory assumes only me.
Oh, well, fair enough. Yes. Anybody who knows you knows that that's pretty much how you run it anyway. Yeah. So you took how long were you working as a mechanic? What, like
from 2014 off and on till 6 months ago.
That's crazy. That is crazy to me that you spent all those years not doing what you do. I mean, you still did do stuff. I remember you.
No, well, once in a while, but it was made a lot of bad choices in like the last 10 years. Like I made a lot of bad choices before the last 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I really compounded them.
I was gonna say I've been along for 20 years worth of bad choices.
Yes, but yeah. But then I compounded them, like bad choices with like consequences, and it was. Yeah, I haven't really watched many episodes of this because it kind of bums me out because it was a bunch of creative people talking about doing creative things, and I was like, motherfucker. I was like, I used to do stuff like that. So I'd be like, now I feel better now. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
but it was
for sure.
Like it was just a series of just like, I kept making these decisions where I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm trying so hard to be like a husband and a dad and like a regular person. And I am a dad, no longer a husband. I'm never going to be a regular person is what I learned at this time.
Right, man. I had to go through that exact same birth almost. It's like you have to, because we in society and it's well understood that like, once you have kids and stuff, like all your decisions have to be
around the kids and not,
you have to get out of being a self-centered person. And so you will find yourself making decisions for the betterment of your kids that are not for the betterment of yourself. And,
and some of those I learned are the wrong decision. Because if you're not, I was not taking care of myself, like at all, like not do it like.
Right. Totally. That was definitely one of the things that I had to learn is that just because you're doing the right thing doesn't always lead you into being the best person you can be. Right. And so at some point, sometimes you have to separate yourself and readjust your life so that you can be healthy. And then that's going to help you do the actual right thing for your kids, because we get stuck in that thing of like, we got to keep the unit together. That's the best thing. But if nobody's happy in the unit, then that's not the best thing, So now you are back onto doing your design work. We've been working, like I said, we've been working on that project, and because we're kind of reconnected with our professions, you've been sending me text messages with some of the shirt designs you've been working on for the festival that we worked on the thing together, and for some of these other projects. And it's like it makes me really happy to see you doing what you are on this earth to do, because all the designs you send me, I'm like, there you go. The world needs this. The world was being denied these amazing Richieisms, and it's like great to have them back in the world, Oh,
I hope maybe we can show them when they come up. I am really proud of them. Like I like they're just when I'm working and I am laughing, I know that I am doing the right thing. And I was laughing my ass off when I was doing just about every design I've done for them. They are hilarious, and it makes me feel good.
Yeah, well, it should, man. Your work should make you feel good. Like when we first met, and you were working at and like were part owner of Babylon Burning screen printing in San Francisco, yeah, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like that that first flat stock like the day before when like everybody showed up at Babylon. It was like Jermaine and Kozik and you and me and Murph and Brian you and like all these people. And it was like the first time. What's that?
I think Gerald was there.
Yeah. And probably
and Connie.
Connor. Yeah. And Connor.
I think Connie.
Yeah. Connor and Connie. And it was like, there was no, like everybody besides Frank was kind of just starting to like make their mark in the art world. And just to think like on a historical level, like how many people in that room, like nobody really knew where things were going to go. You know what I mean? And it's like, all of us have gone on to do so much important shit, you know, with our work. And just like what a crazy, you know, I know Jermaine sometimes still talks about like how crazy it was that we were all there in that one space at that one time. And then once, you know, the next day, once that first flat stock happened, and literally then you had Pivoto in the room, and then you had, it was like, it got even crazier.
He was there.
Oh yeah. He would have been there. Yeah.
He would have been there because he was, that's where all the posters were. That's where, and me and Brian.
Oh, everybody had to come pick up their everybody mailed their shit to you.
Everybody brought the posters to there. We put them in that van. Do you remember that van?
It was like
61,
what did it catch on fire or something with?
Almost. It me and
with
Brian
with all the posters in it.
Yes, we stopped and got gas after we had been up drinking all night, and it may have spilled over into the morning. And we had everyone's posters in the van, and we stopped and got gas, and we did not put the gas cap back on. And we were both hanging out the window, smoking cigarettes. So there's ashes flying, there's gasoline flying out of the van. Jeff Vito's behind us in his car, like screaming, like no gas cap. Flatstock 1 could have ended in a fire explosion.
Yeah. Well, that's how we used to do things. Yeah, that was that first Flatstock was funny because it was the same weekend as the street fair.
It wasn't Pride. It was the hardcore leather one.
Like this like Folsom Street Fair or something.
Oh, it was either Folsom Street Fair or it might have been Folsom Street Fair, but there's another one. It's more crazier than Folsom.
Super turbo. Like
door alley.
Like
there's like a door alley street fair. I don't know what it's called, but
yeah, I think it was Folsom Street Fair. But like all the other rooms in the hotel that me and Murphy and Connor were staying in were all like gay guys, and they were all just like having sex with like their windows open and stuff. Like we were just outside trying to smoke cigarettes, and we're like, what the fuck? I mean, go for it. You're not bugging me, but this was 20 years ago. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, you know, at least shut your curtains, man. Come on. Yeah, but that was like, there was a lot of bonds were made with that first flat stock that like carry on like through to now. I mean, I still work for Frank, you know, like it's crazy. It's crazy how much came out of gigposters.com and out of that first flat stock. I mean, I mean, like a lot of really talented people ended up in the design and illustration industry from that one website, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And I did everything in my power to screw myself over and everybody else over repeatedly, and I still made it back in. So.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with Babylon burning? I seem to remember somebody. Is it
still there?
I seem to have remembered that somebody left and then it changed. Some component changed and everything kind of went.
A couple components have changed. This Mike Lynch, who was there when I was there, is still the owner. He's still got it going. It's going strong. Like it's going to be 76.
Wow.
It's 40 years.
Wow.
No, 45 years. That place has been open. Still going strong. Still in the same spot. Still, they got an art gallery in there now. They got, like I follow. I don't really talk to them much anymore, but I follow like the Instagram and stuff. Still doing good work. You know, like yeah, it's a good shop.
What happened with Brian? What's up with that
Brian's
dude?
in San Francisco.
Still? Because didn't he go back to Philly?
He was in New York.
Oh, okay.
He was working for Jeff Koons, because Brian is actually also an automotive painter.
Oh, okay.
And he was working for Jeff Koons painting those balloon sculptures in the aluminum. You know what I'm talking about? He was the guy who was painting all those in an automotive paint booth. And then he got married to a woman who's actually from San Francisco. She actually worked at Babylon too in the early 90s. They got married, went back to San Francisco. They have a house there. He's working for, I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. He's working in screen printing again but doing like flat stock, but like art prints and stuff. His wife is, I might not be 100% on this, but a lead designer at either Gap or Levi's. I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
Like they got a pretty sweet life going on, you know, like Brian, when he's not doing that, is basically a stay-at-home dad. Like they have a 12-year-old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I talked to him once.
He's always a good dude. I always like that dude.
Oh yeah. Him and I were on like this similar trajectory. Like there was only two ways it was going to go, like either the grave or like.
Totally, man. Yeah, you guys were. Yeah, your guys' San Francisco lifestyle, like that crew that you were in there was, you know, there's a lot of different types of punks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you guys were. I wouldn't say you guys were. I mean, I guess you guys were drunk punks. I guess is it like the easiest.
We were drunks that happened to be into punk rock.
Yeah. Because you weren't quite crust punks, but you weren't. You know, you were somewhere near that.
The punk rock part was like very minor. Like we were way more interested in getting super fucked up all the time, and we were really good at it.
Yeah. There were some parties up there that were fun times for sure, with some shady characters in some less than desirable places.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. Yep. And then you were in LA for a while, and we got to see each other quite a lot for a while there.
Yep. Yeah. I was having a good time in LA till we had a baby.
Yeah, that'll do it. Sometimes that'll do it. But yeah, you know, I miss having you close and like being able to like hang out and stuff for sure.
If I was on my way back, if this thing with Warner didn't pop up, I wasn't going to survive here. Like I was like my head was like just not in a place where I could function and be a parent and like just be a human being. Like I didn't know what the hell I was going to do.
Right. No, dude, I totally get it. You know, one of the things that when I think about like your skill set, one of the things that the first thing that comes to mind is your ability to do color separations for screen printing. And I have always wondered where you acquired that skill, because it's the most advanced separating. You're the most advanced separator I've ever seen work before. And I don't know how limited my exposure to separators really is, but I've been able to see you do stuff that nobody else I've ever seen. Like I've seen people separate something and then it looks good. And then you go, let me have that. And you separate it. And then it looks like infinitely better. And it's like, I always wondered, like, did you figure that shit out on your own? Did you develop your own methods?
I didn't necessarily develop my own methods, but most of what I do, I figured out on my own, out of necessity. And Um, I have a very, like, as a designer, as an art person, I think I have a very pronounced point of view. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not like what something should look like. Like I said to you when we finished that poster, I'm the finisher. Like, like I just have this. I feel I have an innate ability to tie it all together.
Sure.
And part of tying it all together is the separations. Like, because we got to produce this thing too. And I know that there are things that I can do to make it easier to produce. Well, typically I'm looking for two things. I want to make it as easy as possible to produce, and I want to make it look cool, and I want to make it look intentional. Like, everything I do is very intentional, which I think is kind of why things look more together than some other people. Because I am considering, I'm considering every dot. Like not like does that dot need to be there? Yes or no, off or on. Like, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but that's where that comes. Like, God, I wish I could articulate this better.
No, like on the poster that we just finished, like I was trying to maximize the amount of colors that I was using in particular way. Like, I was using, instead of using black lines, I was using other colors in the piece to create the lines. And it's like, at some point I was like, I should probably just make all of these lines black and just say, fuck it. And then I was like, but you know, Richie told me to just like do whatever I wanted, give it to him and he'll figure it out. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay on that path. So I just did, I got it as done as I felt like I needed to get it. Yeah. And like at some point I was like, yeah, I'm just going to make all these lines black. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just leave it how it is. I'll give it to Richie and then we'll let Richie. And then you took it and you took something that I did that was pretty good and you just like, you finished it. So you're right. Yeah. You were, there have been a lot of times we've worked together, like on the Iron Maiden poster where you took something I did that was really good and you just like put the icing on top of the design. And I think that we work really well together in that. We've always worked really well together in that aspect. Like I mean, I don't want to be an asshole about it, but probably better than I've seen you work with anybody else's work.
No, you're on the short list of people that I can work with, because a lot of people, like, you know, like, I don't really have a lot of ego left with the art. You know what I mean? Yeah. Same. But you know, when you're doing it right and you're like, it's not about like that I made this. It's about that I know that I did the right thing. And like, what I can work with you easily because I know that you trust that I'm going to do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anybody who doesn't trust that I'm going to do the right thing, or like thinks that I've like stepped on your art too far, it's like, you know what? Maybe I did just take a giant fucking dump all over it.
Maybe it needed
it. But if you, but maybe a lot of times it did, you know, like you weren't done and I have to do the production on it anyway. I can finish it. Not only am I going to finish it, we are going to have an excellent print. Like, that's the print will be perfect. Like, there will be no, like, it'll be one cohesive thing. Like, I make t-shirts. I don't make prints on t-shirts. I make posters. I don't make prints on paper. You know, like I make like it's a product and it has to all be considered.
Right. For sure. Absolutely. That's absolutely. And that, you know, that's the thing with my work too. And I've kind of always been this way, but definitely as I've gotten older, I've got way less ego about my work, where I'm just like, you know what, if somebody else has an idea about what I'm doing that makes it better, I'm way more receptive to it as time goes on. Like, cause you know, especially when I had to like go over into starting to work with art directors at merch companies, I started getting a lot like, you know, when you're in the rock poster world, you just do whatever
you want.
And nobody tells you anything. And so when it started becoming like t-shirts for merch companies, and it was like, I'd have art directors being like, oh, you got to change this, you got to do that. At first it was like weird. But now, like, I work with art directors at merch companies, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, I had to, when I was in the video game industries, one of the things that made me a strong employee was that at some point I had the realization that if you're not the owner and you're not the boss, you're a worker, and you're there to do.
Sometimes you're a pair of hands.
Sometimes you just have to do what you're being told to do, whether you agree with it or not, because it's not really your place to make that decision. You have to also understand that the place that hired you because they know that you know what you're doing. But sometimes you just have to like suck it up and do it. And so, you know, with like art directors at merch companies now, it's like, you know, it's rare that I ever have to be like, I just don't think that's going to advance the design. It's almost always comes down to somebody sees something that I can't see, and I'm grateful that they see that, and then I can improve upon what I'm doing. I'm just, you know.
See, I'm actually going through that right now with like 2 of the festival designs. And when I did those, in my opinion, the designs that I gave them are exactly what they should be. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I got it right, and I got it right the first time. And the things that you're nitpicking aren't going to improve anything. And I called a guy out. I called the dude out. I was like, because I'm like, like, all right, here's basically the gist of the email was, we'd like to change the text on Rockfest because it looks too much like this other Rockfest. All right. So what I had used Cobble, which is like one of the most basic rock and roll typefaces there is. The Black Sabbath Master of Reality record cover, the Warped to that's Cobble. You know, like Cobble was used constantly. Like, this is an era piece that I made. It was used constantly in the era. And it wasn't like a key portion of the design. It was like one of the least important parts of the design. But it was just right. It was just right for like what was going on. And they're like, well, we'd like to change it because Rockfest looks like Rockfest. And I'm like, okay. So I changed it to a slab serif font. And they're like, it still looks too much like Rockfest. And I'm like, so you're saying the words Rockfest look like Rockfest? Is that what you're saying to me? Like, what are we changing here? What are we doing? I do not like, I'm like, I'm going to need some like better direction than this, because the direction you're giving me is like, are you just changing shit just to feel like you've had a hand in the design of it? Because I'll be like, I'll right now I'll put designed by your name right on here. We can put it real big on the bottom. I don't care. Like it has nothing to do. It's nothing. I'm like, I just feel like you're making bad decisions, and the place that you're coming from isn't a place that matters. Like, you know, I said, so are you saying that when the shirt's up in the booth at the rock festival, that the other shirt that's at another rock festival 2,000 miles away that won't be there is going to somehow cause somebody to not purchase this shirt? Is that what you're telling me? You think that someone's not going to purchase the rock festival shirt for the rock fest that they're at because this other shirt exists 2,000 miles away that looks kind of like it because they used a sans serif typeface? Like that was that I said that. He fucking flipped. The dude flipped. He's like, nobody's ever talked to me like that. And I'm like, well, welcome to Richie Goodtimes, because this is how we do shit sometimes. Like, I told him, I said, I'm a professional, man. Like I've been doing this for a long time. If you told me, like, you can't come at me, like, if you want to come at me and you have a good reason and like a concise thought, I will entertain it. But if you're like, I just don't know, like, then you don't know. You pay me to know. That's what I do.
Right.
I know.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like, you're like, I'm sorry that you don't know, but I do.
I do. And that's why
sometimes you gotta let me. Sometimes you gotta let me be the one who knows. Yeah, I totally get it.
There's like sometimes like there's the one of the weakest designs I did is like his favorite, so that gives me like a little bit of point, some like a perspective on him. I'm like, because I look at the week design and I'm like, that's your favorite. I'm like looking back on it. I wish I didn't even show it to you. You know, like.
Yeah, well, you know how that is, dude. Like sometimes you have those red herrings where you have to show people
wasn't even a red
two
herring.
shitty designs to get them to pay attention to the one that you want
man,
them to. And then sometimes they just pick the red herring and you're like, fuck.
I learned to never do the red herring. I learned early on, never do the red herring. It seems like it's such a smart thing to do, but it's so not, because never pick if you care, don't do the red herring. only show them the good stuff. And the design that I think is weak is still good. It's just that from the other stuff, it's like that's the one you like. Like you have these right here, and that's like, I look at it like the runt of the litter over here, and I'm like, you like this guy? All right, that's cool. That guy's he'll sell a couple of those, but you're gonna sell all these.
Right. Yeah. I know for me, like when I have like multiple designs for one job, like every time I get a new project, like as soon as I hear what it is, I get an immediate image in my head, and that's always the first design I do. And then like there seems to be like a little momentum sometimes where it's like like I start strong, and then as I go, like the ideas start getting weaker because I have to search deeper for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and then sometimes it goes the other direction where I don't really know. And once I start working on something, I start getting more familiar with what I'm working on, and then the ideas get better as I go. And it's weird being a designer, right? People who don't do it for a living can't possibly understand what we go through.
No, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you're like, oh, that's easy. You want that? Do that all day.
Yeah.
So what I did was, when I started this, because I hadn't really designed anything like that for quite some time, is I just started ripping off my old designs. I started looking at stuff like the first there was another event before that. It actually got canceled. It was called the Great American Truck Show. And they needed a bunch of stuff for that. And they were about to hire all these artists. And I'm like, I got this. Don't worry about it. And I kid rocked it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'd done all that Kid Rock stuff. I looked at my old Kid Rock designs, and I Kid Rocked it. I'm like, this is what they need. This is what they want. It's Kid Rock. It's like, you know, I go back to 15 years ago, and I'm like, oh, there it is. I already did this design. No longer says Kid Rock, says Great American Truck Show. Done.
Yeah, we both worked on Kid Rock stuff at the same time, and it was funny comparing notes on the Kid Rock project. Those were amazing. And it's like, you know, it's funny when you do what we do. Sometimes you end up working on projects for people or artists or businesses or brands or whatever that aren't necessarily your thing, you know? And it's like,
oh my God, I didn't send you. Did I send you? I'm going to send you something right now. It's the, hold on. I'll text you this.
We're texting and podcasting.
Texting and podcasting at the same time. Yeah, but you gotta see this.
Yeah, it's like, it's just funny that, like, you know, you get like, I worked on Ted Nugent stuff, and it's like, I don't care about Ted Nugent at all.
I hate Ted Nugent,
I like, you know, Stranglehold's one of the best songs ever.
It is.
Ever.
It's where you go, Ted Nugent, Stranglehold, Ted Nugent, Stranglehold, and you're like, fuck.
But I nailed so many Ted Nugent designs. Like I could not lose with Ted Nugent. I think if I did 10 designs, maybe 8 would get picked every time. And it was like, sometimes
dude, I was born to work for Nugent. Like that's how.
Yeah, you did send me this shirt, and it's
I did?
Fucking amazing, dude. The chrome on that text is so sick. Did you use a Texture Lab tutorial?
Yeah, I did.
I love it. That you know. I hate to talk about Texture Lab in public like this, because I don't want anybody else to really know about it, because I don't want all those secrets out. But
no.
The stuff that the guy does on Texture Labs is
No, you still have to have the skills to use it and to know how to use it and when to use it. I tell people stuff all the time. Like, how did you do that? How'd you do that? I'll tell you, because I don't care, because you're still not going to do it. Like, you're not going to use it right. Maybe you will. Maybe you use it better. That'd be cool too. Then I'll learn something.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm being facetious. I'm at the age now in my 50s where helping other people is as important to my day-to-day life as anything else. It's like, like I don't know if it is an age or maturity thing or whatever, but it's like, I see anybody who needs information that I have, I'm happy to give it to them if it helps them out, if it makes their life easier. Cause I want people to, I don't know. I guess I just want more people to be doing their best thing.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm working with two guys. I have the two guys that I work with in the art department for John are Corey McGeehan and Brandon Helfrich. And Corey is like 30 something. I don't know, early 30, really early. Like he's young. He's really talented.
Yeah, his work's really cool. We're friends on Facebook and follow him on social media.
He's got an entirely
really cool look.
Style, like then but he's good. He's just good, and he's young. And I'm like, and I've learned some stuff from him, but I'm like, help, like teaching them. Both of these guys are both like 30, like showing them, like, dude, all right, you guys are doing this. Here's how to make this easy. Like, you're making this hard on yourselves. Like, let's try this. And they're like, holy shit. And it's like, where did you learn that? I'm like, 25 years ago. Like, it's doing it. But that's that also in my day and in my life and in my like design career right now is like I'm not the boss of like the department. Actually, Corey technically is. Like, he's the art director and stuff. Everybody just kind of lets me go and do what I want, which is like fucking awesome. Like they just like respect, like Richie's trying to do the best thing he can for the company. Like, we're trying to sell some goddamn t-shirts, like
right.
And but yeah, like being like it's another thing in my, like being able to show people, like to teach people, like that was part of gig posters that I liked telling people how to do shit. And even though I was a dick about it, but I always gave you the information they need,
little bit of tough love learning.
Yeah, you always got the information you wanted. You just had to put up with a little bit of abuse on the internet, because that's how I entertained myself. So that was the fee. But I'll tell anybody anything. There's people in the t-shirt industry. There's separators. Like the separators that I could think of that are better than me, there's probably like 20 or 30, like in the country. People that I look at their work and I'm like, holy shit. And then there's everybody else, but a lot of those people above me that work for like bigger places, a lot of people were really pissed about all the information I was giving away on gig posters, because I was giving away like legit industry secrets, like just to anybody. And people were pissed. Like, they were trying to say that I was giving away proprietary techniques and all sorts of stuff. And like, and I wasn't. I was just like, I'm like, anybody with Photoshop could do this. How could it possibly be proprietary? Do you own Photoshop? Like,
right. Just because you figured out how to make Photoshop do a particular thing doesn't mean you own that process. You can't.
No,
that's not how this shit works.
But you also didn't teach it to me, and I figured it out, and then I shared that information. So I'm sorry if that somehow affects you. Get better. Get smarter. figure out another thing to do with that. But if that's your only value, then sorry, dude.
Yeah, I ran into that with the goalie mask industry, where I would I'd be in message boards and there'd be some new guy in there like, oh, like I'm having this problem with adhesion or some thing, like any question. And I'd be like, always the guy like, oh, this is how you handle it. And like, I'd get private messages from other older painters people. And they're like, why are you creating competition for all of us? And I'm like, well, first of all, if this kid who's only been doing it for 6 months or a year is going to be your competition because it's something I taught him, you need to step your game up. And secondly, like, there's enough work for everybody. There's nobody's going hungry, And then it did become a time where it got a little oversaturated, kind of like gig posters did. But, it's like it's just, there's assholes everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And you just have to ignore them and do what you're going to do.
Yeah, these guys are like, well, I'm like, what are you gonna do to me? Like, what can you possibly do to me? Like, tell people, tell people I'm an asshole. Everybody knows.
Like, what are you gonna do? Take money from me? You gonna sue me?
Yeah. Good luck.
I'm not sure what you think you're gonna get.
Yes, yeah. You cannot get blood from this stone because it is not a bloodstone.
Oh, right, dude. Totally. Oh, but yeah, I'm glad you found yourself at Highline. That's awesome. And, I hope there's going to be more work for me there because I really enjoyed working on that project with you guys. And
oh yeah,
Corey was super cool to work with. And it was nice to reconnect with John, like, kind of outside of the gig poster dynamic and as like kind of grown-ups, so it's like a lot of stuff, from gig posters that would happen in the message boards that was, unnecessary. And then like, now that, there's other people that I had, friction with in the gig posters message boards that like, now I'm like, we're like, we don't have that anymore. Cause we're just like out of that element and like more grown up, you know what I mean? And it's like cool to see John have that success. It's like, there's a lot of people who did not create a business like John has. It's pretty amazing.
I do don't have anywhere near the skill sets required to do that. I'm the guy that you put behind the computer and near the press. Like, I could start a business, manage people. Hell no, leave me alone, man.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. How long has Highline been going now?
I think 5 years he's been doing it.
That's awesome. And then I'm guessing it just kind of grew out of his own design stuff where he was designing stuff for all those jam bands and stuff. And then he was like, oh, well, I should just start printing this stuff too. And then I'm guessing it just kept growing out of his basic design.
Started out of his John Warner Studios and his own line of clothing or posters. I'm not 100% on that. I don't want to say something incorrectly because I'm not sure. And then, I guess he got lined up with some investors and they started putting it together. And then he found that shop out in where we are, which was a functioning t-shirt shop before we got there, and posters. The guy was doing posters, but he was doing like grocery store posters on the presses that we're using. So it was not what we're doing. We're using them for, but they were there, So he just kind of, that's Craig, Craig still is in the building, his shop, and he's still in the building, and he's like more of like an advisor. But
the overhead there's got to be like almost zero.
I have no idea.
In a place that small in the middle of nowhere, like the overhead, I mean, it's not like he's like in, downtown Los Angeles or something.
Oh God, no, this could never exist in downtown Los Angeles. But on the flip side, they're trying to expand, and I'm like, with who? Like who's coming here? But like, I'm driving an hour and 10 minutes each way to get there because I want to, but I don't know that I would drive an hour and 10 minutes each way to run a press, right. Like but that's what we need. We need some serious printers, man. Like we need, I want to like assemble like my like dream team crew and be like, guys, we got this shop. They'll basically almost let us do whatever we want. We can do the best prints ever. We have all this equipment. We have money at our disposal. We can make the most awesome, but it's in Shoemakersville, Pennsylvania. So,
yeah, that would be a hard sell. That would be
it's
a super
impossible
hard sell.
It's like the fact that I go out there every day. It's kind of like sometimes I'm in the car going like, and I get there and I'm stoked because they're like, here's what we need from you. And it's like, awesome. I'll do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that location is totally, that is a real factor. If you're in a spot where you can't get good talent to come to.
No, it's like we need talented. There's some good, the guys in there, the printers in there, they're good. Talented. They're good for but we need more. They're expanding in such they're gonna have another press. We need another poster printer. We need people who care. Is the hardest thing, and it's not where it's you're gonna get a paycheck, but we also want you to be here because you care about what you're making and know that we're making something cool. So,
yeah, you're not printing fucking t-shirts for the truck stop. Yeah. Like truck stop t-shirts or
but if we were printing t-shirts for the truck stop, it better be the best damn truck stop t-shirts ever, and we're still going to care because they're going to be the most awesome, ridiculous truck stop t-shirts we ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nobody who knows you who doesn't know that you could make the best truck stop t-shirts ever. And then the people who were, and you're one of your gifts is being able to troll somebody with the thing that they really want and them not know that they're being trolled at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to see you do a series of truck stop shirts that do that. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
Well, it's kind of like all the gun shirts I was doing in 2014, where people are like, "Is he pro gun or anti gun?" I don't know.
Right.
And I ended up selling them to gun shops and hipsters. So it's
that's amazing. That's totally amazing. Speaking of overhead and all that, Bruce, he moved from out of LA to Riverside.
Yeah, Riverside, right?
Yeah, and now he's got a massive shop and multiple presses. He's really grown that business. Yeah, totally. I can see he's like a John Warner situation where I watched him grow that out of his garage.
It's basically the same thing. I mean, because Bruce, the music, Highline is primarily jam bands. I don't know who these bands are. I don't have any idea.
I've heard of all of them, but I haven't
even heard of them. I don't even know who is that. Okay, cool, whatever. But I haven't done any jam band design yet, but I'm just doing festival stuff. But we'll see what happens when we're trying to get more rock stuff in there.
Yeah.
But Bruce, so John is a jam band guy, so John carved out the jam band niche. Bruce is the extreme metal guy, and he was able to carve out the extreme metal niche and then grow it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And they have so many different products now. They have with Carrie has a clothing line that's associated. They're killing it. I'm so proud of them. They're really doing well.
I still follow both of them. Yeah, I see what's happening.
Yeah.
That's somebody if I came back to California, that was somebody I was going to hit up, being like, "Hey, you need me?"
Right.
I see that you've gotten pretty big. You need some help, so I can probably help here.
You separated some stuff for Bruce that I saw a one version, and then I saw your version, and it was even Bruce was like, "Fuck." How did he separate this so that it looks that much better? I remember him just being like,
"Oh, that was back." It was back when he only had a 4-color press too, and he was and he's like, "Can you make this work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, we'll figure it out."
Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing I knew, the last time I separated from Bruce, he may have just got a 6-color piece.
Yeah.
Still in his garage in North Hollywood.
Yep. Yep, or do. Lots of fun times at this North Hollywood Warlord house for sure. Yeah, man, I'm glad to see that you're back doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm happy to be working on stuff with you again. And I hope there's going to be a lot more of that, as you guys get more into the rock era of Highline merch. And
you can call me too for other stuff. You're like, I don't know what to do with this. I can.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Most of the stuff I do at this point is for Connie, and Connie wants me for a specific thing. And so,
Oh, that's the same thing. I'm doing stuff for Kanye right now for like
like perpetually doing stuff for Connie at
I just
Ride and High
emailed her
Productions.
I just emailed her last week and I was like, hey, I'm back. I'm working. We're designing like 10, 12 hours a day. I'm fucking on fire with like, if you need shit that looks like it came out the swap meet, I'm the fucking swap meet guy.
Right. Dude. Yeah. I've also become the swap meet guy. And it's like, I just did a Cannibal Corpse shirt for Psycho Vegas. It's like a Psycho Vegas exclusive. Mm-hmm. And that was like, the art director came to me and he's like, dude, I want like your swap meet look with like the red, blue, gold. Yeah. With all those colors and like, and then like the Cannibal Corpse guys loved it so much that there's probably going to be some more of that stuff. And they just started teasing it on the Cannibal Corpse Instagram. And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking rad. Like I've done stuff for Cannibal Corpse before, but I've never gotten anything through. And to be able to get something through that they're super stoked on I was pretty happy about that. Fucking Cannibal Corpse, man.
I just keep designing like that for ever, and it's like it's one of those things. It's like
it's been hot lately, but for the last like 5 years or so.
But even before, when I was doing that stuff, I would do something like that for somebody, and they'd be like, "I didn't know I wanted that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know you didn't know you wanted that because you didn't even know to ask for it because Yeah, like you make t-shirts that look like my goal when making a t-shirt is to make a t-shirt that looks like it has always existed, was never designed, and it has been there from the start. And it's just like, yeah, of course I go into a store and of course that t-shirt's there because it's always been there.
Right. And it's been at the Goodwill. It's been at the truck stop. It's been at the swap meet. It's like been in the high-end fashion store. Like it's always been there. Yeah. Like that's a good way to look at it. Cause there's like me and you, even though our actual visual style is different, like the actual artwork is different. We do a lot of the same processes and we try to hit the same idea. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, like I still work a lot because I can make something look like a vintage t-shirt and I can make something that looks like a swap meet t-shirt. And so that's kept me busy because it's like, Carrie Underwood wants a t-shirt that looks like a 30-year-old vintage t-shirt. And so do Cannibal Corpse. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just like kind of become my bread and butter.
And and I don't think a lot of people realize what actually goes into that. And what actually goes into making that t-shirt and making it look authentic, feel authentic, and it's I've spent a lot of time studying to do that. Like I understand why shirts in the 70s look like they do, and it's because in the 70s we're using lead inks, and lead inks on t-shirts are the most magical things ever. Lead inks are so opaque and so vibrant and so bad for you. But like,
which is why we don't have even anymore. Plastisol, which came after the lead inks, isn't particularly good for you either.
Plastisol is all right. Lead ink is there's like, you don't know a lot of printers from the 70s anymore because they're dead. But
dude, that explains a lot. When I lived in Hawaii, I worked for this older Japanese screen printer, and he was a lunatic, and I'm sure it was because he's suffering from long-term lead poisoning.
But that's why a lot of those shirts look like that. And lead inks were notoriously hard to mix colors, so you would have to use them straight out of the can, and there were limited colors. So we have a limited color palette because that's what they had. So that's why all of those shirts, it was such great ink. But that's why all of those shirts of that era look like that. And once you understand that, like, I have to limit my palette. Here are my available colors. I mean, you can move around a little bit, but it's basically the same stuff. Like you got your red, you got your yellow, you got your blue, you got your white. You have like maybe a purple, because purples are really expensive. because purple pigment is really like, so like all like
green must
like,
have been expensive too, because you don't see you see green once in a while.
You don't see a lot of green.
You don't see a lot of green. And if there's a dragon, then maybe you'll see some green.
But yeah, these things, they were expensive. The pigments were so that's why shit looks like it does. They did, you know, and to figure out how to match that in plastisol, spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. And I feel pretty good about where I've gotten it.
Yeah, I have a bunch of books about vintage t-shirts. And so, you know, because it became such a huge part of my ability to make money as a designer, like I just kept buying books about vintage t-shirts, and it's like, oh, you know, I can just like scan through and be like, oh, look at that distressing on this shirt. Like just get ideas about natural distressing patterns and, you know, like the way older inks would wash out of shirts, and like there's like
why does it distress? Why did that distress happen? You know, like I've studied all this. Like I was walking down the street and there was this girl wearing like this old ass t-shirt, and I think she probably thought I was insane. It was on her back. On her back was this block of white that whatever was printed on top of it was like, so the t-shirt was sold. It was all gone. It was just this cracked block of white, this perfect rectangle of like white water-based cracked inked from like the 80s. And I'm like, can I please take a picture of your back? And she's like, what? I'm like, please.
I'm not being a creep.
I'm like, I need this.
I'm being a nerd, not a creep.
Yeah, like I don't even know how to explain to you. Like all I need is that rectangle on your back. And she's like, I guess so. And I'm like, and that's my current distress pattern that I use for like everything, because it was like perfect, naturally occurring. I haven't found one better on the internet of like the perfect, like naturally occurring crack, the t-shirt crack.
I found a set of Photoshop brushes that were plastisol distress that they're fucking awesome, man. They work perfectly. I'm happy to share them with you.
I might be into this.
Yeah, they're amazing set of brushes. And, you know, that's one of the things that's interesting to me when we talk about people like Connie who still work really analog and they don't really do a lot of Photoshop work. And it's like, you know, once my old photocopier finally fell apart a few years ago and I was unable to find one anywhere in Los Angeles, like, I searched.
They don't exist.
Like all the plastic housings get from all the heat.
Yeah.
They just the plastic breaks down. And so finding one that works and one you can get toner for, not an easy thing to do. So I had to figure out how to start doing this shit that looked like a photocopy without a photocopier. And thankfully, because of, you know, Photoshop being so rad, there's a ton of products that will get you there.
It's the boy. His controller died.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I totally understand. You know what, man? I think I'm gonna let you go. Not because of that, but this was a good talk. It was good chatting with you, man. And it's been good being back in contact with you in a, you know, professional sense too. Like, you know, we've got to get back to fucking shit up again.
Yeah, and you know, I think basically what's happened in my life is I'm gonna be 46 this year. You know, and I have finally started to grow up. So I'm like reliable now. Like you're like, hey, Richie, I need you to do that, and I do it. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we got to do that. I'll do it.
Yeah, there was definitely some times where we went through a little rough patch here and there.
Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't you. It wasn't just you. It was everybody. Like it was notoriously unreliable. Like I fucked myself out of so much work, just for different. Yeah, I was notoriously unreliable. I know. I'm aware.
I mean, you know, you're a human being, dude. It's okay.
Yeah, but I took it to like extreme levels of like unreliable. Like, oh, we really want you to do this, and you fucked it up again. Okay, surprise. Yeah, the phone call stopped, and that's where I was. That's another reason I was working on cars, is because I had fucked up so much that
it's kind of buried yourself for a little while.
I did.
Yeah. Well, you know, here's to a decade coming up of us like going back to wrecking shit. Like
yeah, well, we got to do it now because we're gonna die soon. So
it's so weird getting to be this age where you're like, at best I've got 20 solid years in me, and then like it's gonna start going. Yeah,
Facebook is terrifying because you're like, who's dead now? Fuck, there's like 3 people dead today.
Oh God, dude! All of our friends like they
just
have heart attacks,
dropping off,
strokes, or it's like it's really fucking weird.
Yeah, and it's like it's not even just COVID; it's just like people we know die regularly now because that's where we are.
That's where we are in our life. Yeah. And like, luckily we don't do manual labor. So it's like, we could probably continue to keep doing what we do, like right to the very last moment.
Yeah.
As long as we can keep not having old man fighting technology.
Old man fighting technology, yeah.
Because that becomes more of a reality every day too.
Well, I think that's when we have to hire, like I have, luckily in the office, I have those 2 30-year-olds. And I'm like, you guys fucking figure this out because I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, I do my best to try to just be uncomfortable and figure stuff out just because I don't want to be left behind in a lot of stuff. And so,
well, sorry, dude, we're gonna be. So
I understand that. I'm just trying to rage against the dying light.
Now find your 20-year-old now and train them appropriately.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, if I every now and then I have a flash of I should just go get a job somewhere. Like I should just get a job designing stuff at a t-shirt company and just like get the easy check. And then I'm like, oh, but then I would have to like work around other people. And there's probably things I'd have to learn. And I don't even know if I could do that anymore. I don't know if I could work around other people anymore.
It's working out for me. I didn't know if I could either, but it's like, fine. I'm actually find out that I enjoy it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. All right. I'm going to let you get back to dad mode. And, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. And, yeah, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Later.